dedication ceremony in Harnett County. We welcome you to this great event. We're excited to see this project dedicated within our community and exhibit the importance of this documentation that these items present to our country. I want to recognize a few elected officials in attendance today. Chairman Matt Nickel, Commissioner Barbara McCoy, Commissioner Eddie Jaggers. We thank them for their support in this project. At this time, please welcome Chaplain John Wood to the podium to give our invocation.
Say good morning to everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Please stand. Dear Father, thank you for your enduring mercy and grace in letting us see this day. Lord, thank you for this dedication of our charters of freedom. Thank the foundation for presenting these to us. And Lord, continue to lead and guide and direct us and help us to never forget that our nation, our great nation, was built on Christianity and this Constitution. These and all of the blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing for the presentation of the colors, the national anthem, and the Pledge of Allegiance. Present the colors.
Right, Will. March. Colors. Hold. Present. Colors. Shoulder. Firelock. Right. Face. As you work. As you work. As you work. Present. Colors.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Shoulders. Firelock. Right. Face. Forward. March.
Please be seated.
Good morning, everybody. What a
Morning.
beautiful day we have here in Harnett County. I want to thank the Foundation of Charters for Freedom for presenting this to us today. This is a wonderful addition to our county offices, and it's going to provide generations of information for our younger kids out here. It's so great to have the rule and law of our country, and it's something that we definitely need to not forget. So I appreciate everybody coming out here and joining us for this event, and we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you.
Mr. Ron Lewis with Foundation Forward.
Good morning, Harnett County. We're proud to be here and celebrate with you today, this occasion. A few months ago, when we approached the commissioners with the idea of building the Charters of Freedom here, I promised them that at some point in time we would have a great celebration. Well, folks, that day has arrived, and this gives us an opportunity to recognize the founding documents of our great country and what they mean to each of us. Now, as we go across the country building the foundation, building the Charters of Freedom, we have a system where we pay it forward. So if you would like to contribute to future communities to have a Charters of Freedom, there's a pedestal here, the first pedestal to my right, that's for donors. And you'll be recognized on that pedestal here in your county if you'd like to contribute. You can do it one of two ways. You can speak to the folks at the desk over here, or you can go on our website, Foundation Forward or Charters of Freedom, and it'll pop right up on Google, and you'll have an opportunity to contribute to that. I'd like to recognize our staff that's with us here today. First is Dr. David Streeter. David and I made the presentation here a few months ago. We have Connie Snyder. Stand up, wave, Connie. And Perry Snyder. Connie is a jack of all trades. She does it all in our office. And Perry Snyder is our operations manager. He makes sure that everyone gets all the components that they need. In the early days, he was it. He did it all. And we have grown significantly since that time. We'd also like to recognize Alexis Krula, who is with our public relations group, and one of our newest members, Ben Hilton. Ben, are you here?
Yeah, I'm right over here.
Okay, Ben, we're glad to have you in our group. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker today, who is Vance Patterson. Some time ago, I asked Vance if he had ever been interested in being a son of the American Revolution. He says, that's intriguing thought. So I asked him for a little bit of his ancestry, and it got started. It took me 2 years to get my credentials as a son of the American Revolution. I gave Vance's information to our registrar, and it took 15 minutes to find a patriot. Ladies and gentlemen, the most patriotic man that I have known in my life. He and his wife give a big part of themselves to build the Charters of Freedom across the country. And it's indeed my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Vance Patterson.
You are to be commended for making the effort to be here today. My question is, are you ready to be a part of history? Because we're going to dedicate your Charters of Freedom. It's going to be here for the next 300 to 500 years, and your future generations are going to know you were here. My name is Vance Patterson. I'm a father of 4, married 50 years to my wife, Mary Jo. That makes her a saint. We're from Burke County, that's in the western part of the state, about halfway between Hickory and Asheville. I'm a businessman. I started a company in 1989 to make industrial fans. We actually make things out of metal, ship them across the country and around the world. I'm a very proud American manufacturer. I'm going to tell you a little about the inspiration behind Foundation Forward, which made your setting possible. I'm going to tell you a little about the setting itself, and then I'm going to give you a challenge to take with you. About 14 years ago, Mary Jo and I were up in Washington, D.C., and we decided to go to the National Archives because we've never seen the Declaration of Independence and Constitution, not the original documents. Well, we found ourselves wandering down these hallways looking at different displays, and then it opened up into this large room. We walked through these big bronze gates into this rotunda, and there were the founding documents on the other side. They're in chronological order. Declaration of Independence on the left, 4 pages of the Constitution in the middle, and Bill of Rights on the right. And this is when we learned that these are known as the Charters of Freedom. Now, one of the things I liked, once we got into the rotunda, was there were no lines. We just wandered around looking at different exhibits, and then when we got a chance, we stepped up to the documents. I will never forget the first time I saw the Declaration of Independence, something our founding fathers had actually penned, and then looked down and saw their signatures. Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Wilson, Rutledge, and the others. I just got goosebumps. And then we moved over and saw the first page of the United States Constitution, and those 3 words, "We the people." I actually got a lump in my throat. Mary Jo was wiping tears out of her eyes. It was really an emotional experience for us. Well, the following year, back in Burke County, I got to thinking about that experience, and the thought came to me, what if I could duplicate that and bring it back to the citizens of Burke County? Well, I told Mary Jo about the thought. She liked it, so we started working on a project. And it turned out to be an education project. And the scope was to design and build a replica of what was in the rotunda, put it in a central location in Burke County. It had to have high visibility, high foot traffic, and easy access for school children and veterans. Well, it took over 2 years to get this done, even though it was a gift from Mary Jo and I to the county. But after a late night joint session of the Burke County Commissioners and the Morganton City Council, they finally agreed to accept the gift and give us a suitable location. Well, there was something we hadn't told anybody. You see, we'd only seen these documents once, and there are no prints, no measurements, no dimensions, nothing available to the public. So the next morning, we got up, got back in the car, drove back up to Washington, walked into the rotunda, and now they won't let you take out a tape measure and start measuring the national treasure. But we had a plan. Mary Jo went one way, and I went another. And I stepped up in front of the Constitution, and I did this. And I was standing in the middle. Well, meanwhile, Mary Jo is actually walking up to the documents, turning around and facing the audience, and marking on her body the different elevations. And then we left before anybody asked us what we were doing. So while you're sitting here may not be exactly what's up in Washington, keep in mind it's based on 2 paces of a short guy and 3 marks on my wife's body. We North Carolinians do have our ways. Well, on July 2nd, 2014, we dedicated the first Charters of Freedom outside of Washington, D.C., in downtown Morganton, North Carolina, on the historic Burke County Courthouse Green. Well, the project was so well accepted, and Mary Jo and I enjoyed it so much, we decided to do another one. So this one went downtown Murphy in Cherokee County, as far west in North Carolina as you could go. That was dedicated on September 17th, 2014, Constitution Day. The third one went downtown Asheville in Buncombe County. Now during this time, we decided to set up a foundation, 501c3, because we knew we were going to be doing more. Foundation Forward has 3 simple principles. Number 1 is education. Education to preserve American history during the founding of our country, and to teach civics so all know how government is meant to serve and protect we the people, federal, state, and local. Number 2 is access. See, not everybody can get to Washington to see the original documents. We want to provide access in the community to these documents in a proper setting. And number 3 is community. Having your Charters of Freedom here in Harnett County gives your citizens a place where they can gather to celebrate, to honor, and to reflect. To date, we have gifted 70 Charters of Freedom settings across the country. That's in 17 different states. North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Virginia, Florida, Alabama, New York. We used to say as far west as Carson City, Nevada, but we actually did a dedication at the Simi Valley at the Reagan presidential site last year. And as far north as Wasilla, Alaska. Yours is the 71st and the 42nd here in North Carolina, which makes it very special to us. Now let me tell you a little about your setting. When I was growing up, I learned that if you want a setting or a monument to last, you put more underground than above ground. This is not a tip-over monument. Your foundation goes down 3.5 feet. It is solid, reinforced poured concrete coming up into a solid core. Just the core and foundation of the Constitution weighs over 38,000 pounds, over 19 tons. There are 6 documents displayed in the Charters of Freedom. Each one is on 1/4-inch etched bronze and weighs over 60 pounds. There's a medallion on the front of the Constitution, which is very special. The eagle represents the Declaration of Independence. Proud, bold, defiant. The 7 stars above the eagle represent the 7 articles of the Constitution. And the 10 stars under the eagle represent the first 10 amendments approved, your Bill of Rights. Now, people ask us, why are we doing this? And we tell them, yes, it's very expensive, but it's our way of serving the country by providing a direct link to our founding fathers, by helping to preserve what it is they gave this country, a government to serve and protect. From the beginning, this has been about education. We learned that we had 4 founding fathers of education: Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, and James Madison. They believed that in order to have a free and independent country, you must understand how government works, that you cannot control what you do not understand. Thomas Jefferson in 1789 wrote, "Whenever a people are informed, they can be trusted with their own government." And James Madison, a 5'4" political rock star of his era, wrote in 1822, "A people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power knowledge gives." You wouldn't believe how many people come up to us while we're building these and say, "That's it? Just 4 pages to the Constitution?" And we tell them that's it. All of our laws and our government are based on those 4 pages. You wouldn't believe how many people don't know that the first 10 amendments are your Bill of Rights. I guarantee there are people here learning that. You see, education. Now, you may have noticed, I haven't been calling this a monument. The definition of a monument is a memorial to honor a person or an event. This is not a memorial. This is an active, hands-on educational supplement for your school's curriculum. Imagine, if you will, teachers bringing their 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade classes down here to your Charters of Freedom for annual field trips. While they're here, they'll learn a little about the Founding Fathers, a little about the documents, a little about the history surrounding the era, and a little about the heroes. This is already happening in communities across the country that have their own Charters of Freedom. And the children love these annual field trips for this blue sky classroom where they can actually experience some of our history. There are 3,142 counties, boroughs, parishes, independent cities, and census zones in the United States. Our long-term goal over the next 9 years is to place Charters of Freedom documents in each of those communities. Our short-term goal is to do all 100 counties of North Carolina, so that people across the country are saying, what is going on in North Carolina? Our hope is that our future leaders will come from communities that have their own Charters of Freedom, that their children will grow up no longer just talking about the Constitution and Bill of Rights in Washington. They'll be talking about their Constitution and their Bill of Rights, the ones they grew up with right here in Wilmington. Now, there's another setting here on the end, which is not part of the Charters of Freedom. I want to tell you a little about that, how that happened. As I would be making presentations across the Carolinas and across the country, sometimes in the discussion that followed, they'd ask about the other amendments. And I knew what they were talking about. The 13th, 14th, and 15th. The 13th abolishes slavery, the 14th guarantees citizenship, and the 15th guarantees the right to vote. And I'd say, well, yes, those are very important, but they're not part of the Charters of Freedom. So they're not part of the gift. And sometimes the discussion that would follow that would get in the way of them accepting the gift. Well, over the years, I got to thinking, this is much more than just about the experience Mary Jo and I had in Washington. It's about education, and all need to know that those rights, that those amendments are in place for everybody. So I did some research, and I learned that there has never been a civil rights document. Because, see, there's two more civil rights that need to be included. The 19th, which guarantees women's suffrage, guaranteeing women the same rights as everybody under the Constitution. And the 24th, which was a result of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which says you don't have to own property to vote, no poll tax. So I put together a document, a rough document, using Article 5 of the Constitution to help explain how the Constitution is to be amended. And I contracted with a calligraphy artist, nationally known out of Winston-Salem, John Stevens. And I asked him to put together a document similar to the Bill of Rights. So he researched the writing styles of the 18th century. He researched the format for doing such a document and actually procured the materials used in the 18th century. He put together a document. It took him over 5 months to do it, which, being an entrepreneur, I thought was a little bit long. But he came up with a true historic work of art. And that's what's displayed now every time we do the Charters of Freedom. Now, I told you at the end, I'm going to give you a challenge to take with you. Our founding fathers were challenged by the greatest power on earth, the British Empire, in their day. They protested, they revolted, they fought a war and won a war, all the while setting up a government that is still in effect almost 250 years later and replicated by more than 60% of the governments around the world. They met their challenge. Vice Chairman William Morris and the Harnett County Board of Commissioners were challenged with bringing the Charters of Freedom setting here to Harnett County. As of today, they have met their challenge. Your challenge actually began about 9 years ago. Mary Jo and I had just finished dedicating a Charters of Freedom setting at Hanover College in southern Indiana. And we were getting ready to leave, and I looked across the campus center, and there was Ron Wells, African-American facilities engineer, who had helped me a lot during the dedication. And I said, I need to go thank this guy again. So I walked over and I said, Ron, thanks again for all the help you gave me. And he said, well, thank you for making this contribution to our community. And I said what I usually say, you're welcome, and just make sure they use it after we leave. And he looked at me and he said, Mr. Patterson, I've already done that. I brought my son over last night, and we had to talk. And I said, Ron, that means more to me than anything anybody's ever said after a dedication. Way to go. So here's your challenge. You bring your child, your niece, your nephew, your grandchild, your neighbor, or other family member down here to your Charters of Freedom. And you have the talk like Ron Wells did. And you tell them about their freedoms and rights, and how those freedoms and rights give them an advantage over the rest of the world to pursue their passion, to chase their dreams, to accomplish their goal, and get out of life what they want to get out of life. You do that, and Mary Jo and I, and all of Foundation Forward, as far as this gift is concerned, we'll call it even. Thank you. And now will Chairman Matt Nicole and the Harnett County Board of Commissioners please come up. Certificate of title for the Charters of Freedom. The Charters of Freedom setting located at 455 McKinney Parkway, Wilmington, North Carolina. is hereby gifted by Foundation Forward of Burke County, North Carolina, to the children, veterans, and citizens of Harnett County, Lillington, North Carolina. All rights, responsibilities, and care for this setting, which displays the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Civil Rights Amendments, are accepted by Harnett County, May 31st, 2025.
I just want to say thank you, because when it came before, I was the one, the commissioner, that spoke on what are you going to present to the council. And I said very clearly, what you present for the county has to be the past. And you have to include all the past. So I want to say, this morning is just surprising and a real pleasure, because one of the general representatives of this company said, Ms. McCoy, I promise you, we will present all the history of this United States and listen to the presentation. I am very pleased. Thank you.
We've just got one more thing to do, and that's a cannon salute. A lot of fun. I knew if all the cannoneers would please report to Command Sergeant Major Perry Snyder, U.S. Army retired, and if my drummer will come up, please. I knew when I did the first dedication that I wanted to do a cannon salute, but I didn't know how many times to fire the cannon. So I did some research, of course, and learned that the cannon salutes began back in the 17th century. A ship would be pulling into port, and they would turn their guns to sea and discharge 3 rounds to show the port that there didn't mean any threat. Well, the port, having more gun and more powder, would answer 7 in return. Thus you get, somehow you get 21 out of that. Well, I knew that 21 wasn't right, so, and I had done business up in Scotland, and the Scottish told me that they liked the way, back in the days, the way the British marked 12 noon. They would fire 12 rounds so the ship's captains and the shop owners could set their clocks. Well, the Scottish, being Scottish, and that is my heritage, reasoned, why fire 12 rounds at noon when we could wait 1 hour and save 11 rounds? So every day there is a howitzer up in the old fort in Edinburgh that goes off at 1 o'clock, so you can set your watches. Well, I knew my number now was between 1 and 21, and I decided on 7, partly because of history, but also because there are 7 articles in the United States Constitution. We will fire 1 round for each article of the Constitution. My drummer today is Christopher Patino Lopez. Are you ready to be a part of history? Good. All right, cannoneers, are you ready? Drum roll, please. Article 1 defines the legislative branch, composed of the House of Representatives and the Senate, that describes their powers and responsibilities. Article 2 defines the executive branch, the qualifications for President and Vice President, their powers, responsibilities, and means of removal from office. Article 3 sets up the judicial branch, the Supreme Court, and the lower court system. It protects the right of trial by jury and defines treason. Article 4 gives the states the rights to make and carry out their own laws related to the people and problems of their state, so long as those laws do not conflict with the United States Constitution. Article 5 outlines the process of amending the United States Constitution. Article 6 sets the status of the United States Constitution as the supreme law of the land, to which all leaders, including the legislative, executive, and judicial, must be loyal. 2. Addresses ratification. Declares the United States Constitution shall take effect. 9 of 13 states ratify. Children, veterans, and all citizens of Harnett County, I give you your charters of freedom.
All participants in the program, commissioners, speakers, to come line up with these folks. 1, 2, 3, 4.